The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. President Donald Trump agrees to delay a 50% tariff on European Union imports, giving global markets temporary relief from an escalating trade standoff. Trump says he spoke with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in what he called a very nice call, prompting the postponement to July 9. The U.S. president had earlier said he was not looking for a deal and set a 50% tariff rate to take effect June 1, a move that sent shockwaves across global supply chains. Von der Leyen welcomed the delay, posting that Europe is ready to advance talks swiftly and decisively, and underscored that the EU-US trade ties remain the most consequential and close in the world. Looking at the big picture, the delay gives diplomacy a short window, but trade uncertainty continues to cloud business sentiment across both sides of the Atlantic, including key Philippine exporters to Europe. Asian shares mostly fell after U.S. President Donald Trump delays his threats of 50% tariffs on goods from European Union to July 9 from June 1. This comes after Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, called him to have a serious discussion. Japan's Nikkei 225 rose by 0.80%, while Australia's ASX 200 is flat with a slight uptick. In contrast, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index dropped more than 1%. South Korea's Kospi posted a strong gain of more than 1%. Indonesia's Jakarta Composite Index slipped 0.80%. India's Nifty climbed 0.30%, while Taiwan's TAIEX declined by 0.22%. In the currency market, the U.S. dollar rose 0.11% and gained less than 1/10% against the Hong Kong dollar. The Australian dollar strengthened up 0.48%. The U.S. dollar slipped 0.17% against the Singapore dollar. It is meanwhile flat with an upward bias against the South Korean won and gained nearly 1/10% against the Thai baht. Gold fell 0.60%, and in the energy markets, West Texas Intermediate crude and Brent crude both rose 0.31%, but Dubai crude is flat with a slight uptick. In the cryptocurrency space, both Bitcoin and Ethereum climbed nearly 2%. President Bongbong Marcos and fellow regional leaders attended the 46th ASEAN Summit kickoff ceremony in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The summit comes against the backdrop of escalating U.S. tariffs and continued tensions in the South China Sea.
We are thankful for the spirit of centrality and the fraternity among ASEAN member states in being able to come together to forge a common front in dealing with these challenges, including the recent initiative or pronouncement on unilateral tariffs from the United States. Quiet engagement matters, and this small and the breach may be fragile, but as they say in matters of peace, even a fragile breach is better than a widening gulf. I strongly believe in the fortitude and staying power of ASEAN to withstand the headwinds and weather the storms of the challenges and uncertainties facing us.
Marcos has said he will call for a unified ASEAN response to U.S. tariffs. He is also expected to stress Philippine rights and sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea amid China's continued bullying. Representatives of China and Gulf states will join ASEAN leaders in Kuala Lumpur tomorrow. U.S. President Donald Trump continues to take aim at Harvard, announcing plans to reduce the number of foreign students at the Ivy League school. Trump demanded Harvard to hand over the names of its international students.
Well, look, part of the problem with Harvard is that there are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous. We do grants, which we're probably not going to be doing much grants anymore to Harvard. But they're 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. We have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do. So why are they doing so many? Number one. Number two, We want a list of those foreign students, and we'll find out whether or not they're okay. Many will be okay, I assume. And I assume with Harvard, many will be bad. And then the other thing is they're very anti-Semitic. Everybody knows they're anti-Semitic, and that's got to stop immediately.
Last week, his administration revoked Harvard's authority to enroll foreign students, a move the university slammed as unconstitutional. A federal judge has temporarily blocked that order, putting the fight on hold for now. The tariff pause between Beijing and Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago sparked a surge in ship bookings, sending logistics firms into overdrive. At Shenzhen's Yantian port, truckers now make triple their daily hauls, with peak season arriving a month early. Ship owners race to coordinate schedules, while warehouse goods inflow jumped by 60% during the period. Logistics companies say that the spike began even before China and the U.S. sealed the trade agreement in Geneva.
The stockpiles in their warehouses are gone. They said they need Chinese goods urgently. Amazon and Walmart even said they would bear all the tariff costs as long as the goods can be shipped.
A ship carrying hazardous cargo runs into trouble and sinks off the coast of Kerala in India. The Liberian-flagged vessel was also carrying 370 tons of fuel and oil, but officials say no oil spill has been reported so far. All 24 crew members, including 20 Filipinos, are now safe, but the rescue efforts weren't easy.
The situation that we faced at that point of time, the challenges that we faced were that we had adverse conditions. We had wind speeds gusting up to 40 knots. We had debris in the water. We had containers in the water, which made approaching the ship, and particularly at night time, very difficult.
U.S. President Donald Trump lashes out at Russian President Vladimir Putin following what Ukraine calls the most intense aerial assault since the start of the war. Over the weekend, Russia unleashed hundreds of drones and missiles on Ukrainian cities, including the capital Kyiv, in a wave of strikes that killed at least 12 people and wounded dozens more.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
So, Mr. President, what do you want to do about that?
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do.
Trump condemned the attacks and said his administration is considering additional sanctions against Russia. He also renewed calls for a ceasefire in the 3-year-old conflict through peace talks remain stalled. The escalation comes amid growing pressure on the U.S. to take a An expert describes President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s recent cabinet reshuffle as a quality reset, but ultimately a move driven by damage control following disappointing results from the midterm elections. In an interview on the Bilyonaryo News Channel's Business 360, veteran political strategist Bilyonaryo warned that while the core economic team was retained, bad politics has already caused economic damage that cannot be repaired without serious reforms. He also criticized Congress for mangled budget priorities, saying politics has taken priority over policy.
Well, the economic team has been retained. But then again, bad politics means bad economics. In the first place, you have a 2025 budget, which was mangled by Congress. No, 6.3 trillion, but that was mangled by Congress. From the National Expenditure Program, which is called the President's Budget, they simply allocated it to their ayuda, their pork barrel entitlements and everything. No? So that is why other sectors which needed the money, agriculture, social services, education, health, lost a lot of money. So where is the problem? It's not in the cabinet. The problem is in Congress.
With the president's revamp still incomplete, Bilyonaryo hopes Marcos will get to solve what he calls the palace communication problem.
Aside from the efficiency or the productivity of cabinet officials, what matters for the presidency is good communications. And let's face it, communications has been a massive failure under this president administration. 4 press secretaries in less than 3 years, and now a 5th press secretary is possible. No? You have a spokesperson who sometimes you wonder if it's the president's opinions or her opinions that is coming out daily. No? So that has to be cured.
Meanwhile, a pest infestation has hit sugarcane farms in Negros Occidental, the country's largest sugar producer. The infestation was first reported last week in Visayas and has since affected 87 hectares of sugarcane farms in the province. Pablo Luis Azcona of the Sugar Regulatory Administration tells Bilyonaryo News Channel's Weather HQ how the government is addressing the problem.
I think the fastest and most efficient way to control is through pesticides, no? Especially if it's a quick response. And then SRA has been studying and will continue to study natural control. We've done that with other pests in the industry wherein we identify a predator and then we introduce it. But the RSSI actually is not a local insect. We discovered this in Northern Luzon. We could not even identify it. We had to send it abroad, and then it was, I think, the South Koreans who identified it. And the biggest infestation in the world of RSSI is in Egypt. So it's a bit far away from us, but we already have it here. So in the moment, the DA and the SRA are giving out and as well as suggesting pesticides to farmers to try and contain infestation. And hopefully we will not affect the production too much.
Government officials and police are working to address the rise in crime in Taguig and Makati. Among the targets, Korean nationals. Our mobile journalist Joan Manalo has this story.
Police visibility has been heightened at Bonifacio Global City in Taguig, following a robbery incident involving several Korean nationals, including a businessman. According to Taguig City PNP spokesperson Cherilyn Agtarap, more police officers will be deployed in BGC, especially during nighttime and early morning hours, to ensure that no criminals slip through.
Meron naman po talaga tayong mga personnel po na naka-deployed po dyan. Nagdagdag pa din po tayo nang sa ganun po mas since kasi di po ba napakalaki naman po talaga ng BGC. So kahit super dami po ng mga PNP personnel natin dyan, parang may instances po na katulad niyan, di po ba? So dinagdagan pa din po natin yung police visibility dun sa area. And then nakipag-coordinate din po tayo sa mga security personnel po ng BGC na kung sakali pong may ganyang incident, makapag-report agad nang sa ganun, agad-agad din po nating matugunan.
She added that they will also deploy members of the District Mobile Battalion from the Southern Police District. Based on records, robbery incidents have been frequently reported around BGC. Another incident occurred at 9th Avenue, corner 11th Drive, around 11:40 p.m. on May 17, where Korean nationals were held up by motorcycle-riding suspects. The suspects took off with 2 luxury crossbody bags owned by the Koreans, valued at over 200,000 pesos.
Identified na po itong mga suspects natin and nakapag-file na rin po ng charges. Nagkaroon din po ng follow-up. So nag-backtracking and forward tracking na din po para sa possible na mga nadaanan nitong suspects natin. Nang sa ganun, since ongoing naman po yung investigation pa din, malocate po agad at ma-arrest po itong suspects po natin.
Agtarap also emphasized that the CCTV footage and witnesses' statements helped identify the suspects quickly. In light of the incidents, a meeting was also held between PAOK, DOT, and PNP, along with officials from the Korean embassy. PAOK said in a statement that they will tighten security at tourist security desks nationwide to prevent similar incidents. The agency also listed recommendations for the PNP, including the installation of multilingual safety signage at airports, hotels, and terminals, and training on tourist security management. Meanwhile, the South Korean embassy has also advised Korean nationals in the Philippines to avoid going out late at night for their safety. A building circular was also issued by 2 Lafayette Square condominium in Salcedo Village amid a reported increase in hold-up incidents in the area. According to the condo management, one of their tenants nearly fell victim to riding in tandem suspects, but was immediately assisted by the building security personnel. Given these incidents, the PNP said that the public can expect heightened monitoring from law enforcement agencies to ensure the safety of residents and tourists across the country. Joan Manalo, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas may shift to a fixed 2% inflation target next year, a potentially major policy change that would align the Philippines with other advanced central banks. BSP Governor Eli Remolona Jr. says the proposal would replace the current 2 to 4% band with a single clear target. He adds that the BSP has asked the International Monetary Fund to assess the feasibility of this shift. Under current policy, the Development Budget Coordination Committee set the 2025 to 2028 inflation target at 2 to 4%, a range that may now be narrowed. While a fixed 2% goal would signal greater commitment to price stability, it could reduce the BSP's flexibility in responding to supply shocks and domestic volatility. Instead of operating within a range that accommodates temporary inflation spikes from typhoons, global oil shocks, or food supply issues, the BSP may be forced to tighten policy even when inflation is driven by factors outside its control. This could dampen growth, especially for a vulnerable consumer-driven economy like the Philippines. The Philippine economy shows signs of acceleration in the second quarter as easing inflation and steady consumer spending help offset global uncertainty, according to the ASEAN +3 Macroeconomic Research Office, or AMRO. AMRO says household spending is expected to improve, providing a key lift to economic growth this quarter. The group also cites front-loaded export production as firms move ahead of the paused U.S. reciprocal tariffs, adding short-term support to manufacturing output. Private consumption remains resilient amid lower inflation and a steady jobs market. However, AMRO notes that a rebound in private investment is still uncertain after a slowdown in the first quarter, making it a key metric to watch in the coming months. Overall, while second quarter momentum looks promising, the outlook will depend on whether domestic demand holds and trade uncertainty remains contained amid ongoing U.S. tariff risk. We're taking a short break. Business Brief will be right back. Oil prices will have mixed adjustments tomorrow. Motorists can expect gasoline prices to rise by 10 centavos per liter, while diesel prices will be reduced by 20 centavos, and kerosene will see a rollback of 40 centavos. Rodalo Romero, Assistant Director of the Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, earlier attributed the rollback to the reported progress on the U.S.-Iran nuclear deal and the cooling trade war between the U.S. and China. Romero also cited OPEC's optimism about global oil demand growth despite economic risks on the price hike. After being suspended for 3 years, the No Contact Apprehension Policy, or NCAP, is being re-implemented starting today. It is being enforced on major roads including EDSA, C5, and Ross Boulevard. Under the policy, the MMDA will use CCTVs to detect driving violations and will send notices of violation to registered addresses of vehicle owners. The Supreme Court halted the NCAP's implementation in 2022 after transport groups challenged its constitutionality. The court lifted the TRO last week. Bilyonaryo Congressman Mikey Romero adds a new distinction to his resume the best amateur polo player in Southeast Asia. The Filipino sports patron overtook the son of the Sultan of Brunei and the heir to Thailand's King Power Empire in the latest World Polo Tour amateur rankings. Romero surged to number 24 with 110 points. This follows a spectacular debut at this year's Gauntlet of Polo in Florida with his team Global Port Polo becoming the first full Asian squad to compete at this level. Philippine shares return in the negative territory as it falls back to the 6,300 level. The PSE index ended lower by 0.3% to close at 6,389, finishing the day as the sixth worst performer in Asia. The day's sectoral indices ended mixed, with mining and oil rising the most at more than 4%. Holding firms, meanwhile, fell the most at 0.8%. Advancers outpaced decliners 102 to 90. Total value turnover reached 4.7 billion pesos. More than half of the day's most active stocks ended in the red, with Meralco falling the most at more than 3%. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso is currently trading at 55.23 against the greenback, strengthening from previous close of 55.25. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big bold moves in business, only here on the Bilyonaryo News channel. See you then.